Okay, good morning, students. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Okay, we'll wait for 2 minutes and then we'll get started. Already five of them have joined so far. Okay, in the meanwhile, I've shared some forward messages that I have received from the university. Kindly go through the message, and there is a form that you need to fill to register yourself. So you can fill that form and register yourself. Okay, so Meghna, Rashmi, and Narayan, please do the needful. Guys, are the students joining? It's already 10:35. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Okay. Only 11, 12 have joined. Okay, guys, let us not waste more time because it's already 10, around 10:35, 10:40. So we'll get started. Okay, let the student join if they want to later. Okay, so just confirm if you can see the slides. Are the slides visible?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, so in the previous class we started with gap 3. We tried to understand what is this service gap 3, and then we also tried to understand the reasons for gap and the various strategies that are used to control this gap or to reduce the gap. Okay, so I hope you're clear with that. Let's move on to the next part, that is employee role in service designing. Okay, so what is the I guess we have done this also, employee role in service designing. We had started with this, where I said that the employee plays a very important, the frontline employee especially plays very important role in designing the services, because they are the people who are going to deliver it. So they should be actively involved into designing the services also. Okay, so that was one part. Yes. Now let us understand the classification of service employees. What are the different service employees? Excuse me. Yeah. So the classification of service employee depends on various parts. Like first is interaction, then types of service employees, and frequency and length, etc. So let's try to understand them one by one. Okay. First one is interaction. Okay. How is your interaction? How frequently you come into contact with that particular person, with the customer? Okay. So long contact service or high contact, low contact service or high contact service. Okay, I'll just give you example, you will understand what it is. Okay, low contact services where the contacts are very low. Okay, in case let's say an example for low contact service might be okay, chef in a hospital or in a hotel. Okay, or uh, okay, yeah, a chef in a hotel may be an example of low contact service, because he hardly comes into contact of the customers. Okay, so that comes under the low contact service. Or it may be a mechanic in a okay, let's take this example. Okay, mechanic, you go to a mechanic, you get your vehicle repaired, and you just leave. So contact period is very low. Okay, interaction is very low. Or you go to a hairdresser to cut your hairs. Okay, or a beauty parlor, in a beauty parlor, etc. And the service that you get is for a shorter period of time. So that is called as low contact service. Okay, where the contact of the provider and the customer is very low. Okay, second is high contact service. High contact service is normally a continuous service where you need to come into the contact of the service provider, you need to come into the contact of the customer on a regular basis. For example, educational institutions is the best example for high contact service, where we need to contact the customers on a regular basis. We need to be in touch with the students on a regular basis. So educational institutions can be one example. Banks can be another example, where you need to contact with the have a contact with the bank or the customers on a frequent basis. Okay, on a regular basis. So that is what uh, high interaction or high contact and low contact services. How interaction is. Okay, imagine you go to a barber. Do you have lot of interaction? No, it is just hardly a matter of, let's say, 15 to 20 minutes, where you get your hair cut and you're out of it, right? So that is the type of interaction that you have with the barber, so low contact. Whereas you go to a college, okay, you take admission into a college, and imagine your contact with the faculties of that particular college. It is in an MBA college, at least for 2 years, you have contact with that particular faculty in the college, the providers of services. Okay, so that comes under the high contact service. Next one is types of service employees. Here we talk about customer service employees and professional service employees. Okay, now customer service employees, they are a bit technical. Okay, not expert technically, but they have technical knowledge. Okay, okay, and that is how they provide service. Like let's say a retailer. Okay, retailer provides services, that is customer service. Okay, or you give a call to a call center. Now they can help you in some technical things, but not all. They may not be able to resolve all your doubts. So that comes under customer service employees. Okay, that is how they are classified. They are moderate in terms of technical, but they need to be very interactive with the customers. They need to have good interpersonal skills, etc. That is called as the customer service employees. Okay, whereas professional service employees are your doctors and lawyers or engineers or consultants, who should have in-depth knowledge about whatever services that they are providing. Okay, so that those are called as professional service employees. who are professionals basically. Okay, so that is how you classify the employees on the basis of types of service employees. Okay, whether it is a customer service employee where minimum technical skills is required, but uh, a good amount of interpersonal skills is required, whereas in case of professional service, in-depth knowledge, in-depth technical knowledge about that particular field is required, and you also need to have a proper interpersonal skills to talk to the customers. Okay, so that is what professional service employees is. Next one, classifying the service employees on the basis of frequency and length. How much long you are in touch with that particular employee. Okay, depending on that, you classify them into uh, frequency and length. Okay, so contact personnel. Okay, contact personnel is in frequent contact with the customers. Okay, let us say a waiter or let's say who okay, I'm not getting that word. Okay, oh, shit. Okay, homekeeping service person. Okay, homekeeping service personnel, or a waiter. Okay, or a nurse. Okay, these are the people who come under the contact personnel, where the frequency of contact with the employee, with the customer, is very high. Okay, so they come under contact personnel employees. Okay, whereas second one is moderate contact personnel. Now moderate contact personnel may be a chef. Okay, a chef in a hotel, normally he doesn't have any interaction with the customers in that particular company or in that particular hotel, or a specialist doctor. Okay, they may not have contact with this customers on a regular basis, but sometimes yes, it may require. Okay, like a chef has prepared a new dish, and he wants to get a feedback directly from the customer, so he may come in contact with the customer. Or a specialist wants to give some special advice to a particular patient, that time he may go and meet the patient. So at that time, you contact the person, contact that particular employee, sorry, contact that particular customer. So the frequency of contact is moderate in this case. Okay, back office staff normally doesn't come into contact with the customers at all. Okay, but some cases yes they do, but in most of the cases they do not come into contact of the uh, customers at all. Okay, for example, let's say you go to a watchmaker or sorry, a showroom where watches are sold. Okay, your wristwatch, let's say. Okay, wristwatch is sold, and there are people who repair the wristwatches also. Okay, or there is some damage in your newly purchased wristwatch. Okay, so you don't come into contact with those back office staff at all. Okay, they are the people who are going to repair your watch, but you don't come into contact with them. But if you have any specific doubt, let's say in spite of repairing, it's still not working, and you want to tell it to the technician directly. Okay, at that time you come into contact with those people who service or who prepare the watches in that particular showroom. Okay, so that is where back office staff comes into picture. Okay, let's say you go to a shopping mall and you buy a dress. Okay, and you want to get it altered. Only when you want to get it altered, you go and meet that tailor in that particular showroom. Otherwise you never meet them, so they come under back office. Okay, they normally do not come into contact with the customers at all. Okay, in case of any specific queries which cannot be solved by the frontline desk people, then only the back office staff uh, comes in front and solves your queries. Okay, support staff never comes into contact with the employees, or the frequency or the length of contact is nil. Because for example, let's say HR manager in a in a hotel, we don't even know who is the HR manager. We never as a customer we never come to know who is the HR manager of that particular uh, hotel, or we are not bothered at all. Okay, so that is how it is classified as support staff. Okay, it may be as I said, it may be uh, HR manager of a hotel, or HR executive of a hotel, or accountants in a particular company. Who is the accountant, what does he do, and all doesn't matter at all, right? So you never, as a customer, you never come into contact with those people, right? So that is how it is classified as support staff. And last one is the management. Now management, we already know who is the management. It comprises of the board of directors and the chairman. Now again, if you look at the frequency and length of connect with the customers, it is uh, nil. Okay, only in some instances where the chairman comes and speaks to the customers. Apart from that, there is nil contact between the management and the customers. Okay, so that is how the service employees are classified into different heads, like interaction, on the basis of the level of interaction that they have, then on the basis of the services that they are providing, and on the basis of the frequency and the length of service that they are providing. So are you clear with these three classification and the sub classification under that? Okay, I'll just give you the examples once again so that you are more clear. Low contact service may be a barber, a beautician, mechanic. Okay, high contact service may be uh, educational institutions, banks, etc. Okay, then customer service employees may be retailers, or a customer care officer, a customer care executive. Okay, the people whom you call, okay, in the call centers, etc. So those come under the customer service employees. Whereas professional service employees are doctors, lawyers, engineers, consultants, etc. Okay, frequency of length on the basis of contact personnel. So the contact personnel, the contact is the frequency and the length is very high. Okay, so maybe a waiter or a housekeeping servant or a housekeeping uh, personnel. Okay, they come into direct contact with the customers on a regular basis, or nurses. Okay, moderate contact personnel maybe uh, they do not normally come into contact, but sometimes if required they come, like chef in a particular hotel, or a specialist doctor in a particular hospital. Sometimes whenever required they may come in, and they may uh, to talk to the customers, okay, the patients or the customers in the hotel. Back office staff normally are your technicians and your people who work behind to support the organization. So they normally do not come into contact at all. Okay, only, as I said, in some cases, some situations where you need specific things to be told to the customers, or the customers want specific details, only then these back office staff come into front line. Okay, support staff never comes into contact with the customer, so the frequency and length is very low in case of support staff. Okay, support staff, as I've said, the examples of support staff may be your accountants in a hotel. Okay, or a HR executive in a particular hotel or a hospital. Okay, those come under support staff. Okay, support services, that they provide support services. Okay, and management is comprising of your board of directors or chairman, etc., who rarely come into contact with the customers. The frequency and length of service is very low in terms of the contact with the customers, but rarely they come and meet the customers. Okay, so this is how we classify the service employees. Any doubts in this? Any doubts in understanding classification of service employees? If you're clear, give a thumbs up. If you're not clear, you know the rules. Okay, great. Okay, so next one that we're going to deal today is boundary spanning roles. Okay, boundary spanning roles is the people who actually face the customers. Those are called as boundary spanners. Okay, boundary spanners, they are at the boundary of providing the services. They are at the edge of providing the services to the customers. Okay, they are called as, normally we call it as frontline staff also, but in technical terms we call them as boundary spanning employees or boundary spanning roles. Okay, so boundary spanning roles can be for information transfer and representation. Yes, the boundary spanning roles, what do? They provide information to the customers, or they represent the company. Okay, I'm facing the customer, that means I am representing that particular company which I belong to, right? So a boundary spanning role can be an information role, or it may be a representation role. So when I, let's say, when I go to a counseling session, okay, I go to a education expo, okay, and I sit there, I'm representing my college, so that becomes my boundary spanning role. Okay, so and I also play a role of information transfer. I give information to the customers, to the aspirants of MBA, engineering, etc. So that is what boundary spanning roles talks about. Okay, so these roles act as organization representatives and can range from subordinate service roles to professional service roles. Yes, from a very non-technical role, just to provide subordinate services to the other people, to professional roles where which is more technical and more depth in-depth knowledge is required. So these boundary spanning roles can range from any, from a service role to a professional role. Okay, a subordinate role to a professional role. Okay, so these are called as boundary spanning roles. Okay, especially the receptionist in a hotel, receptionist in an educational institution. Okay, these are boundary spanning roles. Okay, then we are going to talk about emotional labor. Okay, now what is this emotional labor is, whenever you are providing services, okay, you need to have control over your emotions. Okay, that is very important, because um, however bad mood you are in, you cannot showcase that in front of the customers. Okay, you have to be jolly good, smiling, and uh, positive every time, because that is what defines your role, that is what defines your service. So that is what emotional labor is, that is controlling your own feelings and then providing services in the best possible manner. Okay, so because yes, services are provided by the employees, and employees have emotional reactions, or they have emotional characteristics. Okay, so that those emotional characteristics should not be displayed in front of the customers, is what it says. Okay, so that is what emotional labor is. Okay, so I've just have given some let's say variables which normally defines the emotional labor, like expectation from interactions, like frequency, time, variety, and rules of behavior. So what kind of interaction is required? Impact on individuals. Those people are those employees who are providing that service, they become exhausted. What about their job satisfaction? Are they satisfied with the job? Impact on the organization, perform impacts on organization. Yes, the performance, tendency of to quit the job, etc., will impact the organization. Okay, because of the emotions again, like organizational factors like autonomy. Do we have the autonomy to take decisions on the spot? Okay, or support from the managers, or and support from the colleagues. These are organizational factors which will impact my emotions. Okay, then individual factors like my gender, or my expression of emotions and emotional intelligence or mood, that also determines how emotionally strong or how emotionally stable I am. Then incidences also sometimes impact my emotions, like positive incidents. While coming to the college, let's say, there are lots of positive things that happened in the at the home or while coming. So my mood, accordingly, my mood would be very positive, and I'll provide similar services. But if something bad happens, bad incidences during while coming to the college, okay, etc., then my mood is not not good, and accordingly the services that I'll be providing would be of that quality itself. So that is what emotional labor talks about. Okay, so it is basically what deep acting, drawing in attention to another direction, cognitive behavior, service acting, or um, limiting reactions. Okay, elevating reactions. Okay, there's another chart that I have tried to pull out. Okay, which talks about situational cases, emotional regulations process, and long term consequences, where you talk about interaction expectation, how it's almost a similar thing, but in a different way. So situational is expectation is frequency, how frequently you are expected to speak, what should be the duration of your interaction, then what variety of interactions that you should have, and what rules you should display, the rules that you need to follow to showcase yourself. Okay. And emotional events, again, as I said, situations may be positive, negative. Accordingly, I'll be acting. Okay. My acting, my performance, okay, would ultimately depend on these situational cases, or individual and organizational factors. Okay. Or the sorry or it may be because of the facilities provided and the support provided by the organization, like employee well-being, job satisfaction, and organizational well-being, performance, withdrawal behavior, etc. So all these things together, okay, will decide my emotional labor. Okay. How I will be providing the services. That is what emotional labor talks about. Okay. Now, uh, are you clear with what is this emotional labor? First of all, is everyone clear with emotional labor? Yes. It basically studies how emotions will have an impact on the behavior of the service provider. Okay, that is what emotional labor is. Any questions, any doubts, guys, in case of emotional labor? Vienna would be the right person to talk about emotional labor because she is a psychology student, and she would be able to throw more light on what is a cognitive behavior, right? Vienna, are you there?
Um, maybe
Yes. Vienna, can you tell me what is this cognitive behavior?
cognitive behavior is like basically, cognitive itself is like thinking, like,
Correct.
your whatever goes on in your mind. So, like,
Okay.
according to that, like how you behave.
Sorry, I did not get you.
Sorry.
I did not get you. Whatever the last thing that you spoke.
So, just a second.
Yeah.
So it's basically like how you behave, like what you think, and uh, your personality, maybe.
Okay. Normally, we talk about this term cognitive psychology. So, can you tell me something about cognitive psychology?
Nah, I don't exactly know properly. I can't put it in words.
Cognitive psychology. You have not used it anywhere? Okay, so basically, understand cognitive psychology talks about the entire human behavior in terms of intelligence, in terms of perception, in terms of attitude, in terms of language, okay, thinking or its memory. So all these factors together forms a cognitive psychology of a particular individual. Okay, so that plays a very important role in deciding the emotional labor, right? How stable you are mentally. Yes, Jasvina, you want to say something? Jasvina?
So, cognitive psychology is how the person interacts in whatever form. Like, without understanding the external picture, you go deep into
You're not
the
audible, Jasvina. Your
emotional
voice is
quotient
very
of
low.
the patient. Hello?
Yes.
Yes, sir. You can go deep into a client without even noticing anything like externally. Like it gives you an insight. So there are
Basically,
blood
cognitive
groups,
psychology, as you said, talks
parameters
about the
for defining
behavior and
everything.
attitudes or attitude of a particular individual, right? Okay. So, so all these things together forms an emotional labor. Okay. So how your emotions are going to uh, impact the service that you're going to provide. talks about emotional labor and how do you control your emotions so that you provide the or reliable service, or we can say the service in a the quality of the service is consistent. Only when you have control over your emotions, then only you will be able to achieve that consistency in your service. Okay, so that is what emotional labor talks about. Next one is sources of conflict. Now there might be a conflict when you're providing services. Let's say a person and a role. Okay, this is something within, this conflict is something within, that is what kind of person you are and what kind of role is provided to you. Okay, so there is a conflict, like suppose you are a very serious person and you don't want to talk too much, etc., but you have been given a role to interact with customers, direct interaction with the customers. So naturally there would be a conflict between your personality and the role that you are uh, role that you're performing. Okay, so that is what the person and role conflict talks about. It is between the person's personality, okay, personality traits or the behavioral traits, and the role that he's performing. That is the conflict between those two things. Okay, if I'm very interactive, I like to uh, uh, speak to people, etc., and I've been given a job of teaching, yes, there will be no conflict at all, because I'm loving what I'm doing. Okay, so in case if it is just vice versa of this, like people do not, there is a person who doesn't want to speak at all, doesn't want to share anything, doesn't want to share knowledge. Okay, and he's been given a job of a instructor or or a teacher, there would be a conflict, right? So that is what person and role conflict talks about. Next one is organization and client, or organization and client conflict, or conflict between the organization and the client. Now when does this happens is, okay, like you as a service provider, you are in a dilemma whether you should listen to your uh, clients or whether you should listen to the organization. So there is a dilemma, and that creates a conflict again. Okay, so basically we sometimes call it as two bosses conflict, because your customer is also your boss and your bosses are your boss, obviously, right? So organization and client conflict arises when there is a conflict between the customers and the organization, in terms of the quality of the service provided, in terms of the duration of the service, etc. There might be a number of reasons for the problems, but when you have to face this, or when you have to resolve this, that becomes a conflict to you, like whether you should listen to your bosses in the organization or you should listen to your clients or the customers. Okay, so there is a conflict again. Fine, so you are unable to decide, so that is called as conflict. Okay, next one is inter-client conflict. Two customers start fighting. Okay, so that is called as inter-client conflict. Like you are owning a hotel, you are providing services in a hotel, and there are two customers who are sitting on adjacent tables, and one customer starts smoking in a non-smoking zone. The other person gets offended and the conflict starts. That is called as inter-client conflict. Okay, so the conflict between two different customers. Okay, that is called as inter-client conflict. So are you clear with the various sources of conflict? Any doubts here in understanding the sources of conflicts? Yes, no? If you're clear with the different sources of conflict, give a thumbs up so that I can go ahead. If no, please unmute and ask. Are you all clear, guys? Okay, great. Okay, so yeah. So let's move on to the next part. Okay, that is strategies for delivering service quality through employees. What are the various strategies that you can adopt for delivering services through your employees? Okay, so this will help, these strategies will help you to provide the best services in the best possible manner. Okay, so first one is hire right people. Okay, definitely if you want to provide good services to the customers, to the clients, then your people, that those who are providing the services should be the best people. Okay, so ways to hire right people is compete with for the best people. You have to always look in for the best people. You cannot just look in for people who come and work at a lower cost. Okay, since you're getting it at a cheaper price, you cannot just uh, uh, employ them. Okay, you have to look for the best people and you have to compete to hire those best people. If you see in IT companies, there is always a competition to hire a CEO. Okay, they just take CEOs from one company to another. They offer them a huge package, and then one CEO of one company becomes the CEO of another company. He shifts from one company to another company. So there is always a competition to hire the best, and when they hire the best, then only they will be able to provide the best. Okay, so ways to hire right people is compete for the best people, then hire for service competencies and inclination. You have to always hire a person for the competency that he has. Okay, and the inclination towards providing that particular service. Okay, it's not that you don't have any other job, so you are doing this job, and that is the reason, and that is the intention that you have. I cannot hire you because you do not have that inclination at all towards providing that particular service, right? Or you don't have that competency at all. Okay, so you have to always look for competent people and those who have inclination to provide those that particular service that you're intended to. Okay, only hire those people. So hire right people is what we are talking about, and be a preferred employer always. Okay, people should die to work for your organization. You should always be a preferred employer, sorry, not employee, employer. Okay, like people should keep on looking for opportunities to work with you. Like people die to work with Google, people die to work with Microsoft. Okay, because these are the companies who have proved that they are the best of the employees. Okay, people would really love to work with IIMs. Okay, faculties would love to work with IIMs because they know the quality of life that the faculties have at that particular institutions. Okay, so you should always be a preferred employer. Okay, people should die to come and join your organization. That is how you should be. Okay, so that is how you will be able to hire the right people. Okay, second one is develop people to deliver services. Okay, you have to always keep on training the people so that they deliver the best of the services. Okay, they deliver the right services and the best of the services. Okay, so train for technical and interactive skills. Okay, you have to train them for technical skills as well as interactive skills, because they are providing service, they are in they have to interact with the customers on a regular basis, so they need to be very interactive. Okay, then empower employees. You have to empower them with decision making authority. You cannot always ask them to fall back on you. As bosses, you cannot always ask them to fall back on you in case of any doubts and queries. You have to empower them to take certain decisions on their own. Okay, and then you have to always promote teamwork. Okay, only when there is a proper teamwork, you will be able to provide good services to the customers or the clients. Okay, so that is what we say, develop people to deliver quality. Okay, so this is how you can develop people, because in a team people develop because they see the others in the team doing something, and there comes an urge of improving themselves. So always promote teamwork. Okay, then next one is provide needed support system. Okay, always whenever a service is provided, there are lots of support systems required. Like if you want to ask, if you want someone to sit on the receptionist desk, definitely a phone is required, a computer is required. There should be a proper support system. Okay, there should be a peon attached to that particular desk. Okay, so that whatever is required is immediately provided. Okay, so all these support systems should be properly given to the employees who are providing services, like measure internal service quality, supportive technology and equipment, service oriented internal processes, etc. So all these things should be provided to the employees who are providing services. Okay, and last one is retain the best employees. Very important, guys. Retain the best employees. Never let your employees leave your organization. The best employee, never let your best employees leave your organization, because in service industries, it is the employee who is very important. In service industries, infrastructure does not play an important role. In a service industry, it is always the employee. Okay, you go to a particular hotel because of that particular because of a chef, because the